Hi, I'm Kurt from Oz Armour and welcome to Workshop Wednesday. It's finally here, the latest JAGDPANTHER update. In the last episode, Daz was working on the front armour plate for our JAGDPANTHER and Jess was working on the road and rear idler wheels. Now it's time to start the prep for the assembly of the Substructure. We've got a lot to get through, so without any further ado, we bring you episode 6 of the JAGDPANTHER. The rear plate is back from the sandblasters. A lot of people have asked why we didn't put this plate in when we assembled the hull. The main reasons were time and safety. The factories that made tanks in World War II had huge rotisseries that could clamp and rotate entire vehicles. It sounds delicious, but it actually made welding a lot easier and the entire process much safer. We don't have that sort of luxury here, but there are things we can do that can mitigate the risk. The rear plate actually sticks up so high that to have it flipped upside down would have made it much more dangerous for us to handle and for Jesse to weld.
Yep, side shift. Yep, hold there.
It does mean that this side plate had to be cut, but we reasoned that we could make that join seamless and it would mostly be hidden away by the wheels. I'm sure we'll get a lot of suggestions on how we could have done it, but this was the way that we went about it and it worked.
That's about it there, mate. That's looking good there. Oh, probably another pump of there. That's what she said. Yep, that's it, yep. Might be just that 2 or 3 mil, got to push that one back with that wedge. Yep. You want to see if you can drop the wedge in. No, I think in the bottom, just push the back or hit the back. Hit that back. It's got to go up and in.
Yeah, but we can do that with a forklift now. We can probably just take it.
Well, yeah, see you.
There's no way of assembling it without cutting that piece.
The rear plate has a lot of covers, track tightening screws, exhausts and other openings. With mostly original pieces that were in pretty good condition, one of the covers we needed to make, and the rest did need a little bit of work. These parts are called bump stops, and they limit the upward movement of the swing arms and prevent the road wheels from slamming into the underside of the superstructure.
Oh, wow. That came out a little bit easier than I thought. And you can have a look.
Oh, that's alright.
So we need 2 bump stops, so we're going to fabricate the other side. So I've cut a base plate, got to cut flats on this side too, and we've also got to bend a bit of plate to the shape of this to suit that. So, and then there's going to be a few more little pieces like little gussets and that we add in later. Like even if we only have one of one thing, it just makes our job so much easier.
Unfortunately, I missed Jesse repairing and fabricating these parts, but he did a great job, especially when you consider that this is something that most people will never see. We haven't fitted the rest of these to the hull yet. We'll show them all going on in the next JAGDPANTHER episode. It's time to move on to the superstructure sides. This side is off a vehicle that actually saw combat on the Eastern Front in World War II. When we received it, there were signs of extensive battle damage, and it was in several pieces that had to be joined back together. It's been on display in the museum for a few years now, but it's time to get it prepped for blasting and priming. All of the old weld will need to be removed and the damage repaired. Jess uses a plasma cutter to cut through the original welds and then uses a needle gun to rattle away the slag.
starting on the machine gun bore mount today. So we've got this piece, it's been blown off the tank. You can see the welds and that they've all been torn away. It's still really heavily seized and pitted. We're gonna have to heat this bright red, this whole block up here, this cast block. We've got to try unscrew these here and lift that off, and this should lift out theoretically.
Theoretically. This is an impact screwdriver, and it's the perfect tool for cracking rusted screws and bolts. We're having a little bit of trouble getting this one out, so Jesse welds a nut on the end for a bit more purchase, and eventually gets it out with the drill. With all of the screws out, Jess can try and lever out the block holding the ball in. It's not budging. Time to try some minor adjustments with a sledgehammer. Dropped a lot of rust, and Jess has dropped a lot of colourful four-letter words, but the block hasn't budged. Now he's going to try and quench it. Heating it all up will cause the block, ball and mount to expand, which will hopefully crack the seal made by the rust. Quenching it and rapidly cooling the piece will shrink it all back down, and this might make it easier to lever out. Jesse spent a really long time on this, but to take it any further would risk damage to this very valuable piece. He managed to free it up a bit, and we decided to call it there. While we were waiting for the sides to get back from being sandblasted and primed, Jess decided to paint up some wheels. Paint won't actually dry unless this activator is added. Jesse also adds some thinner so the paint can pass through the airbrush. Big shout out to Jesse, who actually shot most of the footage in this episode. I think you'll agree he did a fantastic job. Well, that's all we have time for today. We hope you're enjoying the series so far. The boys are working really hard in the workshops in the sweltering North Queensland heat, but your comments and encouragement are really fantastic. So thank you all for your support. Don't forget to subscribe and help us grow the channel, and tune in next Wednesday for your weekly tank restoration fix. So until then, I'm Kurt from Armour, and I'll see you on the next one.